So hi everyone, we're very lucky to have Dan Halls, one of the co-founders of the GRB Group, which consists of three talent solution firms, GRB, Metrica Cortex, a professional networking group called GRN, a free mentoring platform called Graduate Mentor, and a social enterprise called Student Startup. So in 1996, alongside his fellow Brighton University business graduate, Chris Cater, Dan identified an area in the recruitment market. Just from his research, he couldn't identify a recruitment consultancy taking graduate recruitment seriously or adapting a professional approach to entry-level recruitment. So GRB, which stands for Graduate Recruitment Bureau, was established in February 1997, and now GRB dominates the graduate recruitment sector, helping 600,000 students and graduates reach their goals. They have a team of over 70 experts and a client base of FTSE 250 and fast-growing SMEs. Therefore, GRB is now widely recognized as the leading independent graduate recruitment consultancy in the UK. So I think it's clear that we're very privileged to have Dan talk to us here today. I want to thank him on behalf of everyone watching.
Thank you. That's a great introduction. I think that's what I put on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I've got information on there.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that. That's great, and certainly sets the scene for this webinar. I'd also like to thank Rachel and her team for inviting me to this series of webinars, the very first one. So I'm extremely pleased to be here and to help all of you graduates from Pearson College. Now we've got about 30 minutes. There will be an opportunity throughout to ask any questions. You've already given us an indication of what you're looking to get out of this, and most of my presentation will answer most of those questions. So I will start, and I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully you will all see this. Okay, so this webinar is called Graduate Jobs, the hot sectors which need business graduates now. So, first of all, Sagar kindly introduced myself. I'll just reiterate a few points and make an introduction myself. So I'm Dan Halls. I'm the co-founder of GRB, which stands for Graduate Recruitment Bureau. We are now the go-to platform for high caliber university students, graduates and recruiters. Established back in 1997 by myself and another graduate, we have over 40 staff now. We have over 1,800 clients across all sectors, clients such as big name firms like Post Office, IBM, Unilever and Ocado, but also several fast-growing SMEs or small to medium enterprises. So these are companies that may not be so well known, but they are growing and they need graduates. So we refer to this as the hidden graduate job market. And there are thousands of these kind of companies that you may never have heard of. So our team of recruitment experts have successfully matched over 8,000 graduates with full-time graduate level jobs. Now, needless to say, things have become pretty topsy-turvy in the last 6 months. These are a few headlines I've picked off from news sources. So the first one there's from the Financial Times. What are the job prospects for the class of 2020? So that was quite early on in the lockdown. And they were talking about certain sectors that were really suffering as a result of the lockdown and the pandemic. So that was a very interesting article. Some interesting sectors that they picked up on that have actually accelerated their growth, which I'll touch on later on. But also another snippet from the BBC news feed about how university life is changing now with students going back to university. A lot of courses are being taught remotely, with a mixture of in-person seminars and things like that. So it's very, very different, the whole experience now for students during this pandemic. And they're suffering as a result without having that social interaction, which is a big part of going to university. That has all changed. Another article there from The Guardian, again about employers slashing graduate jobs, but students mustn't lose hope. So this was when we were identified as being in a recession. So some really hard-hitting headlines from The Guardian there. Also, another survey here about youth concerns during COVID. So the age group of 15 to 29-year-olds who have been adversely affected by the lockdown and the recession. And top of their concerns is employment. And this isn't graduate level work, this is part-time work, internships, placements. All of these opportunities have been hit in various ways. Some sectors affected directly, obviously, hospitality, tourism, leisure, aviation, and these sectors. And there's been a knock-on effect, and young people have been really hit hard during these last 6 months. The other two charts are from the Recruitment Employment Confederation, which I'll come on to in a second. And they really give useful analysis into how the job postings are going week by week. They'll look at all the job boards and they'll see any increases or decreases. So there's a graph there that's very interesting that's shown obviously the job postings dipped, but are starting to increase. And another chart there that shows the confidence in the UK economy. So that's a huge factor with businesses moving forward, is being confident, and there's a slight uptick there right at the end. So a real mixture of different headlines there, just to give you some context about the world that we're operating in right now. So if we drill down to the recruitment industry, first of all, I'll give you some information about the recruitment industry. Now, you may not know, but it is, or was, one of the fastest growing industries in the UK, which is worth about £36 billion. There are probably over 40,000 recruitment agencies in the UK. These range from one-person outfits right through to huge recruitment agencies employing thousands of people. In total, as an industry, it employs about 100,000 people in the UK, so a fair amount. Now, the main industry professional body is the Recruitment Employment Confederation, or the REC. And I mentioned the graph before was from the REC. So this is a good starting point for you to find out a little bit more about the recruitment industry. So if you check their website out, rec.uk.com, you'll have access to lots of information about the industry, job postings, trends, huge amounts. So I'd strongly encourage you to have a look at the REC website. In graduate recruitment, this is a slightly smaller segment of the recruitment industry. Our professional body is called the Institute of Student Employers, or ISE. And again, a very useful resource for graduates to find out about trends, any news, any insights. And a lot of the research I've done has been based on reports produced by the ISE and the REC, combined with our own experience at GRB. So there's some good resource there for you. Now, the economy isn't great. We all know that. We're in a recession. It is very challenging. The unemployment rate at the moment is 4.1%, according to the ONS, which is the Office of National Statistics. The heaviest job losses being reported in airlines, non-food retailers, automotive manufacturers, and holiday operators. But there are many, many other sectors as well that have also increasingly found themselves having to make redundancies or struggling financially or actually close. So certain sectors have really suffered where the lockdown has meant that people haven't been able to go out. And these are some of the sectors we've noticed that probably aren't hiring right now. Now, they reckon, well, the Bank of England predicting that unemployment is going to increase to 7.5% by the end of 2020. So when the furlough scheme ends, there's possibly going to be more redundancies. So there may be more, it may get worse before it gets better. GDP, as we know, went down by 20% in Q2, which officially meant we were in a recession. But there has been some good news, some incentives that were launched by the government. We know they're working really hard to minimise the economic impact of COVID. But for the young age group, they're looking to help those that are on universal credit with the Kickstart scheme. So that's also there's some of the big headlines that are affecting the recruitment industry at the moment. Now, if we go into certain sectors listed here, this is from the REC, and this is based on job postings. So you can see at the very start, hairdressers and barbers, fitness instructors, there's been a reduction in the number of adverts for those kind of jobs. If we look at the increase in certain jobs that are probably relevant for business graduates, let's say, you can see that accountants, chartered and certified is up 2.5%. We can see sales and retail has gone down. We can also see programmers and software developers, there's been an increase in that. But a lot of these roles, I think, are probably more temporary based. There will be some permanent positions within these sectors, but it's just quite interesting because these sectors are recruiting thousands and thousands of people, and they're the ones that kind of give us a good indication about the direction other sectors may follow. So that just gives you an overview of some of the postings in key occupations, according to the REC, that happened between the 7th and the 14th of September. Now, the job market is constantly changing, but by and large, certain areas have seen an increase, more so than hairdressers, barbers, and fitness instructors. So there's some growth there, which is encouraging. Now, let's look at the graduate recruitment industry, because that's the most relevant for you guys. So the Institute of Student Employers did some research in May, and it showed that 23% of their members, and their members are typically big graduate recruiters, and they're saying they'll be recruiting 23% less in 2020. Now, that's not great, but it does say to me that 77% are actually looking for graduates. So that's good news. The majority of big graduate recruiters are still recruiting graduates, you know, so 23%, and they're probably in sectors that have been adversely affected. But that doesn't mean that opportunities have shrunk too dramatically in the graduate recruitment industry, which is really, really positive news. Now, the reason these employers said they were going to recruit less is because of the uncertainty. This was the most common reason. So until the economy starts to grow and confidence returns, these employers will continue to have this opinion that things aren't going to get any better. We're making people redundant. We really are not prioritizing training graduates at the moment. So uncertainty is a huge factor in companies deciding whether to hire graduates. And very much when organizations hire graduates, they're recruiting for future potential. So if they don't know what's going to happen next month or next year, they're very reluctant to invest in hiring new graduates. A lot of graduates, 31%, are anticipating to delay their start dates. So companies have said, yeah, we're still going to hire graduates, but we might not take them all on in September. We're going to push it back maybe till January. So that is also a factor you may wish to consider, that although many graduate recruiters are still looking, they may be pushing back the start dates. Now, I talked about some of the sectors that aren't making commitments to hiring graduates. This research identified the built environment, financial and professional services, energy, engineering, and industry sectors as really contracting in the graduate recruitment industry, and also SMEs, largely because of their cash flow. It can be very hard for small companies, especially startups, to get going when the economy is in this condition. On average, the respondents to this ISE research are also furloughing 13% of their staff. So, you know, they're also having to put some of their staff on furlough, and they have to address that first of all before they even think about hiring any new staff. So it's not actually quite a large number in actual fact, but 13% maybe when the furlough scheme ends, a high proportion of those individuals, sadly, may be made redundant. Now, it has changed a lot of the activities that would usually take place on campus. So 69% of graduate recruiters have cancelled visits to universities. So, you know, they may not have come to Pearson to run skill sessions, things like that. They may have reverted to doing it remotely or virtually in many cases. But career fairs and fresher fairs are usually a huge opportunity to meet thousands of students across the UK, and 72% of graduate recruiters have actually cancelled their attendance at career fairs. They feel that a virtual career fair doesn't deliver the same experience. So that's a real shame. On both sides, recruiters are desperate to meet students face to face, and likewise, students get to meet employers, ask them questions, speak to graduates who are working there. You know, there's a reason career fairs existed before, and virtual fairs are taking place, but for some organisations, they've decided it's not the same. So that's a huge change in our industry. Now, I talked about how things are moving onto virtual platforms. So many recruiters have decided to carry on recruiting, but interview people online. So they're using Zoom or various other platforms to interview online. That's not such a big issue. Assessment centres are a little bit harder to do remotely, and then also onboarding can be tricky when you want people to come into the office, meet their team, meet the management, get a feel for the culture and the organisation, which can be very hard to do remotely. So that requires a lot more thought. But it hasn't stopped recruiters interviewing, at least, because they can carry on doing this using various platforms. 92% of graduate recruiters have started to embrace home working. Many of them were doing this beforehand, maybe on a part-time basis, but a lot of these firms are London-based. Many staff are reluctant to use public transport. So they've figured out ways that people can work from home. Now, this actually presents an opportunity because they could potentially hire more people. They're no longer confined by their office. They can actually recruit more and more people working remotely. So that's actually a good thing. And it's made companies move forward with working from home. Maybe before the pandemic, they were on the fence, but this has pushed them to actually make those changes. So a real mixed bag there. The big thing is that 77% of graduates still recruit graduates this year. Sorry, I lost you there. I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about the sector performance, which I touched on before. This is from the Institute of Student Employers, okay? So here are the sectors on the left-hand side, and you can see how some of the sectors, their hiring plans have changed quite dramatically. So I talked about the built environment, they're down by 45%. Charity and public sector, not too badly affected. Only a 1% reduction in graduates they're going to take on. The legal sector only down by 4%. Health and pharmaceuticals only down by 10%. So these aren't really massive numbers. But on the other side, you can see how internships and placements have been affected far more than graduate level jobs, which is a real shame, because graduates still want to do internships or placements as well. It's not just for undergraduates. So those opportunities have reduced massively. But for graduates, certain sectors aren't too badly affected. I also mentioned about the number of staff that are being furloughed by sector. This just gives you, again, a flavour of how those sectors are faring at the moment. So again, built environment have put 42% of their entry-level staff, so these will be graduates they recruited last year, they've actually put them on furlough, which isn't a good sign, because some may be made redundant. So that's a sector that's been hit massively. Construction, building is not something during a recession that many people want to invest in right now, particularly commercial office space. The other sector that you need to make a note of, I guess, is, again, if you look at health and pharmaceuticals, they haven't put anyone on furlough there, which is really encouraging. And unsurprisingly, that sector is being accelerated right now as they try and find a cure for COVID. But also in general, this sector was, before COVID, on an upward curve. So this has just accelerated their growth. And there's many, many companies, not just the big health or pharmaceutical firms you may be aware of, but thousands of other companies in this sector that remain quite hidden, but they're very, very busy right now. Finance and professional services, only 16% have been furloughed, which isn't a huge amount. And banks and financial houses are still investing, people are still investing. So that's an area that is certainly, according to the ISE, not doing too bad. So certain sectors really hit badly, other sectors not so bad, and they're going to continue to grow. Now, if we drill down even further into our experience at GRB, this will give you an indication of the sectors that we think are hot, and the areas that probably gives you the most opportunities right now as business, finance, marketing, or accounting graduates. So first of all, since January, these are the number of placements we've made by degree type, okay? Now, I have to say, most of our clients, they look for maths, IT, engineering, these kind of theoretical or numerically based subjects. So they make up the most number of placements. But we do deal with huge numbers of graduates who've done these kind of degrees. So as I say, 16% of the placements have been made from business graduates, 7% by economics, 2% are management graduates, 1% are finance, and 1% are accounting graduates. Now, typically the top sectors our graduates are finding work in are as follows. I've just picked out 4 of the biggest sectors right now. So e-commerce, 48% of our graduates since January have started their career with an e-commerce firm. Now, one of our biggest clients has been Amazon. They've recruited huge numbers of graduates from us, but not just them, but also other online retailers, which are experiencing a massive boom right now with people being based at home, don't want to go to the shops, and they're doing a lot of their shopping online. So, you know, that's absolutely accelerated massively, and they need more graduates. So e-commerce has been a huge sector for us, closely followed by IT. So there's been huge numbers of technical firms that have benefited from the pandemic, and these organizations, very often they're growing, but their brand awareness isn't very strong. So they've come to GRB because we have access to graduates that they need, and their advertising maybe hasn't worked elsewhere. So there's huge numbers of IT consultancies who are looking for graduates right now. Education, that's been a bigger sector for us this year. This has been for graduates who want to go into teaching, obviously, which is interesting because during previous recessions, many graduates become very risk averse. They'd rather choose sectors that are more stable and offer more job security, and teaching is certainly one of those. So it's not just teaching in this country, but also teaching English as a foreign language in other countries. We've placed graduates over in China, for instance. So that's been an opportunity for a lot of graduates this year. And also FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. 3% of our graduates have started their career with an FMCG firm. And these tend to be the bigger firms that you'd be familiar with. They're usually looking for graduates to go on their management training programs. So not necessarily working in stores, but working in the head office. So those are the sectors we would say are very hot right now. But the jobs market is constantly changing. Now, as I said, the pandemic has accelerated growth for some firms. I mean, I was reading the other day in the FT that there are a few organisations that provide outdoor heaters for pubs and restaurants, and they are recruiting massively. You know, it's really these kind of companies that you need to think about that supply the hospitality trade or other sectors that satellite areas that are growing or have a spike in demand. So there are interesting sectors that are doing very well at the moment, and we are anticipating a bounce back. So certain sectors that have been in hibernation will start to come back. So we've noticed mergers and acquisitions have huge numbers of backlogged work, and they're certainly starting to pick up now and go through all those projects that had backed up during the lockdown. So you'll see certain sectors really bounce back, and it's worth keeping in touch with the financial press to see which sectors are coming out of hibernation, so to speak. Right, so I had a look at our website today, looked at all the job listings, and 27% of our vacancies right now require a business degree or a business related degree. So I strongly urge you to get on our website. You can search by degree type. So have a look at the business degree type job listings, and you'll see many jobs on there that are with our clients. They're looking for business related degrees, and apply now. When I looked at the vacancies by sector, this was interesting. 27% were in consultancies, 15% were actually in the recruitment industry, which is a very encouraging sign. I mean, the recruitment industry are usually the first to go into a recession and the first ones out. We're by no means out of the recession, but certain recruitment industries serve certain sectors that are growing. So you may find recruitment industry players who help mergers and acquisition firms need more staff. So very, very super specialized recruitment agencies are looking for graduates right now. 12% were in the engineering sector and 11% were in the FMCG sector. So these are the sectors right now. I've just looked at our website, and this shows you exactly what sectors are hot at this very minute. So consultancy, the recruitment industry, engineering, and FMCG. Now, the majority of these roles are in London and the Southeast, but that does change throughout the year. There may be other organisations in other bigger cities, and certainly we're noticing more cities starting to grow. They're kind of benefiting from the situation in London at the moment, with not many people are willing to move there or find work there. They're finding that they can work from home, but be based in an office in Manchester, let's say. So the way people are working is really affecting the jobs market. But at the moment, the majority of roles are in London and the Southeast, but we anticipate that won't be the same maybe in 6 months' time. So we'd certainly encourage you to register with your CV with GRB today. Our team of 40 experts are here, ready, waiting to help match you up with any of our employees in all of these sectors. It's an entirely free service, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions you may have. Maybe Rachel has been through some of these questions. I'm happy to take those now.
Yes, we've got a question in the chat. So some students finish their degree, but many want to pursue a career that is mostly different to what they have studied. Can you help students with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'd be interested to find out what they'd like to do. I mean, we have many graduates who register that they want to try something different. And the beauty of it is if you look at your skill set, you will find that it can transfer to lots of different industries you may never have considered before. So when someone registers with us as a business graduate, we will email them jobs that require a business degree, but also their skill set. So you may be surprised to see other kind of jobs you hadn't considered before that are a perfect match for your skill set. So by no means, if you've done a marketing degree, do you have to go into a marketing role. I mean, that's a particular degree that lends itself to lots of other different careers, particularly analytical ones or ones that require numerous or abilities or a creative skill set. So yeah, absolutely, the doors can open beyond just your degree type.
So a couple of other questions. Do you source international opportunities as well at GRB?
Yeah, there's probably about 5% of our clients are based outside of the UK. So, not a great deal, but very often they'll train graduates in the UK, and then they will position them in an office elsewhere around the globe. Mm-hmm. So we do deal with some international firms, but I'd have to say the majority are UK based.
Okay, cool, thank you. James had a question. What's your success rate of matching graduates with employers?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't place every single person who graduates and registers with GRB. At the very least, we hope that we will help them with their CVs, interview preparation, assessment centre. So there are a huge number of graduates who use our website, for instance, that go off and find work that we may never find out about. So there's thousands of those people. The people that we actually manage, by and large, as I said at the start, a huge number have done computer science, engineering, maths, economics, and business disciplines. So we do have a high success rate with those subjects, but there are others that are particularly trickier to find work for. So we don't place many legal graduates, for instance, or ones that have done medicine. The NHS don't use us, or big legal firms don't use us. They have a slightly different way of recruiting graduates, so they don't really use an agency. So I'd say those are two degree groups we don't really have much success with. But there are other specialist agencies that do have success with legal and medical graduates.
Okay. So if you study business and finance, then you're in luck. Yes,
business, finance. Obviously recruiters do look for certain grades. So 2-1 or 2-2, usually. But yeah, business graduates have always been in demand with GRB, and we place them into all sorts of different roles. Training management, marketing, finance, sales, recruitment. A big range, but have a look on our website and decide yourself. Have a look at the jobs that are on there and decide whether they're the right kind of jobs for you. We're constantly updating our website with new jobs. We're dealing with clients all the time, so it does change. So take a look at the site.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Davine had a question. Do you just do graduates, or do you do any internships?
Just graduates at the moment. We do have a section on our website for internships and placements. That has shrunk quite a bit, actually, unfortunately. But it's mainly for graduates who are looking for full-time work, permanent career-based positions.
And Davine, we've got obviously an in-house internship team who can support you with internships, and they've got some roles. So you do get in touch. I'll drop the email into the chat box in a second. I had a question. You painted quite a a challenging market for graduates to enter into, or you might look at it as a challenge, or you might look at it as opportunity. So for those graduates that are leaving this year and moving into that market, what sort of things do you think that they should be doing to stand out? What is it that your recruiters are looking for and your clients are looking for at the moment from graduates?
We've been through downturns before, so
Yeah,
9/11, the dot-com bubble, the 2008 recession. So we know that graduates need a lot of reassurance, advice and guidance. So, you know, it is going to be hard, but it is worth sticking to your goals. So don't lose sight of your career goals, because it can be very easy to get into a negative mindset. So we're here to give you as much reassurance as possible and a step-by-step plan. And indeed, the career service there, Rachel, as well, I'm sure, inundated at the moment, helping graduates. But you have got brilliant skills, more than the kind of average person. You've done a 3-4 year degree. You will have some work experience along the way, and you bring huge amounts to employers. We've just done a blog article on 7 reasons why employers should hire graduates, and there are many really, really good reasons why employers should hire graduates. So, it is going to be competitive, but there are ways to stand out. And I'd say, apart from using recruitment agencies, the career service, the jobs board that are out there, you've got to think differently. And I think being a bit more creative. So I think sending speculative applications to companies. So do some research around a particular sector that you want to get into. Identify maybe 6 companies. Find who the decision makers are on LinkedIn. So they go under different job titles. It could be human resources director, a people business partner, head of recruitment or personnel, or may actually be the owner, and send them an email with your CV. But do your research and convince them that you are the right person to take on, because they may not actually be advertising for anyone. But if you convince them with a very persuasive covering letter, a super relevant CV, you could actually get them to give you a call and say, you know what, you've got the skill set now that we need, we'll take you on. So actually convincing employers when they may not have any roles advertised, or they're thinking about it, if you time your CV to the right person, it may actually make them want to hire you. And you've got no other competition, because you're the only one that sent that email. So it does take a lot of homework to get it right. But I think if you can just narrow down maybe 6 companies, find the decision makers, send your CV, follow up, you may get lucky. But certainly also ask around your own network, because there are people that that know other people and know someone else. All these situations could mean that if you make contact with someone, maybe on LinkedIn, let them know that you're looking. For instance, an alumni of Pearson College, right? So find someone who graduated last year, see where they're working, and say, hey, I'm just about to enter the jobs market. How did you get your job here? Or do you know someone? So I think contacting your alumni is a very good way of getting your foot in the door.
Yeah, and we have the grand for them every second Tuesday of the month. So you can check in, and someone there who takes someone that you're interested in, works in a company or an industry you're interested in. Couple more questions in the chat.
Sure.
Sam's asked, with companies not hiring as much as before COVID, do you think it would be better for graduates to do a master's and wait for the job market to become more stable, or do they just go out there next year? Good
question. And typically in recessions, a lot of undergraduates decide to stay at uni and do a postgraduate course to ride it out and hope, in a year's time it's improved. Obviously that comes at a cost, if you can afford to do it. But if you can, choose the course that's right for you, that's going to give you that edge in a year's time. We are advertising postgraduate courses for a couple of universities at the moment, University of West of England and Bangor University. But, you know, there are hundreds of universities out there who are ready to take on undergraduates, but choose your course carefully. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good idea, but I would say do it for the right reasons, not just to kind of put your head in the sand for a year and just do anything. Make sure that it's the right course for you. And then in a year's time, enter the job market then. So yeah, I completely understand why people would want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Alex has asked, to start in 2021, do companies recruit throughout the year? So will they start early next year recruiting? Yeah, when do they start?
Now, here's the thing I didn't mention actually, because yeah, some of the big name companies have recruitment cycles and they tend to take most of their graduates on training programs, at least around now, actually, in the autumn. But there are other recruiters that keep their their vacancies open throughout the year. So they maybe have monthly intakes. So in answer to your question, it's very different. But what happened in the last recession for a lot of companies is they had a shortfall. So, you know, a big company is hoping that 50 graduates will start on the first week of September. And say at the end of August, 5 graduates say, I've got another job, because very often they'll take more than one job offer, right? Now, if that organization hasn't got a second shortlist of graduates, they have a shortfall of 5 people. And very often they'll use an agency to quickly access 5 graduates to join the others. So they all start that first week in September. Now, 40% of graduate recruiters in the last recession had a shortfall. So don't think that because you don't see a big company advertising right now and think that you've missed the boat, they've got everyone they need. Go back to that company and have another look, because they might have had a shortfall. And you could get in at the very last minute. It happens a lot. Yeah,
I can imagine. And a lot of them keep them open, like you say, throughout the year, don't they? And they just continue to take people on as they come through, rather than just putting something out for a set period of time. So you'll probably find for graduate schemes and for jobs that's the case. Someone's asked if they're studying business, could they end up working in a world of motorsports?
Yeah, I don't see why not. They need that skill set for a variety of different roles. So, you know, marketing, obviously, PR.
Yeah.
You know, various other sort of kind of support related roles. But you might want to work for an agency that does the marketing for a motorsport firm. If you don't want to do it in-house, you could do it externally for an agency. So think along those lines as well. There's loads of smaller firms that supply the big well-known firms. So they often, again, this is the hidden jobs market. You know, graduates don't often think about these satellite firms that supply the big firms where there are plenty of opportunities. So yeah, absolutely.
Another question, will it help improve chances to get other qualifications that go with your degree, such as a CIMA or ACA certificate, or courses in software training, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, we've had we've been preparing graduates for one of the big interview questions they're going to be asked is, what did you do during the lockdown?
Yeah.
So, you know, if someone comes back and says, well, I've been doing an online course with Harvard University about something, and it's relevant, then that's a brilliant response to have. So make sure that whatever you are thinking of doing is going to add to your skill set and help you stand out. So definitely a professional qualification on top of what you've done. You know, be it a Chartered Institute of Marketing or Chartered Institute of Accounting. That can certainly differentiate you from other graduates, definitely.
And throughout your career as well. That continuous personal development is always important, so that you, so always consider keep developing and training, definitely.
Yeah, and it shows an employer your commitment to that industry, in fact.
Definitely.
And chances are they'll probably continue to support you once they take you on, because it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. So Sarah's got a question. Any advice for business and marketing students wanting to become a designer?
Yeah, I mean, that's, obviously doing something so creative, you are going to be competing with people who've done out and out design or media or creative arts degrees. But if there is something that you've done that's demonstrated your creativity, maybe you volunteered to do something, you've got your own portfolio, or you've had an internship, a placement, or a part-time job, that combination of your sort of business commercial awareness with that creativity would be very attractive to a company seeking a designer. That skill set brings something extra to the table that maybe someone who's just done design may not have.
Yeah, absolutely. That's often a big gap, isn't it, with design courses? So totally agree. Cool. Okay. Anyone else got any final questions for Dan?
One thing to add here.
Yeah.
Finally, we started a campaign called #HelpTheCOVIDGeneration a few months ago. We've really ramped up the service we're giving to all graduates right now. So apart from running webinars like this, and we've done about 14 webinars with different universities, also offering postgraduate courses, loads of content on our website, lots of jobs. We've also added a sister site called graduatementor.uk. We've recruited 60 mentors. Now, these are very senior, inspiring business people. They may be professional coaches or mentors. They may actually be ex-university career staff in some cases, or alumni. So we've got 60 mentors right now on this platform that are offering their help for a free 1-hour session. So you can do this over Zoom, you can do it over a phone call. For 1 hour, you can brainstorm any question about recruitment or a particular industry, or get your CV in shape. So this is a free service right now called graduatementor.uk. Strongly encourage you to check it out, have a look at the mentors, see if they can really give you some useful insights on a one-to-one basis, and help you make that transition into the workplace.
Yeah, definitely very helpful to have someone to talk to directly at the moment. So yeah, I recommend you guys check it out. And obviously we've got similar things internally at the college, but you can never have too much support when it comes to this sort of thing. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Okay, cool. So 5 minutes to go. So I'm just gonna wrap up and just let you guys know what else is coming up. So as part of the rest of our Work Fit series, we have got our Work Fitness Week that is starting on the 15th of October. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. And we've got lots of different companies joining us. Dan is hopefully going to come back with some of his team to talk to you guys at our mock interview and CV clinic. We've got lots of other companies coming in to speak to you guys, things about entrepreneurship. We, instead of our normal industry day, we're going to do a virtual careers fair. So where Dan was saying that some places, you don't have access to that at the moment, it is something that we've tried to put together. LVMH show, Moen Hennessy, Louis Vuitton are joining us. Lots of different accountancy firms, law firms, Pearson itself. So really good. Have a look on the Work Fitness Centre. I'll drop the links in the chat. So check it out. And then one final thing, I'll put it in the chat. Everyone loves some feedback. So I'll put that in there as well. So I'd really appreciate feedback on today's session. So thank you very much, Dan. We really appreciate your time. Can people reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. Just put my name, Dan Halls, into LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you. You know, I get to share lots of useful content, news, research, insights, and jobs. So by all means, follow me, and be delighted to help as many Pearson graduates as possible. Yeah,
perfect. Cool. Well, hopefully that was helpful, guys. Feedback link is in the chat. Our digital workfit program and our events homepage is in there as well. Thanks for joining us on your Thursday evening.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.